The terrorist attacks in France have sparked a global outcry, including a public vigil in the Octagon. Many residents are worrying about the heightened threat of terrorism, and international relations professor Robert Patman joins us to talk about it. Good evening.
Good evening, Rebecca.
What are the latest developments in this?
The latest developments are that France has launched some airstrikes against Raqqa, which is ISIS de facto capital in northern Syria, one of their strongholds. About 20 bombs were dropped there. And that's the first round, apparently, of the French response. The French, of course, are convinced that ISIS are responsible for this. They're also engaging in a manhunt. Initially, there was the belief that only the actual operatives involved in the terrorist strike, which killed 129 people, there was a belief that just the 8 involved. But it now appears that there were much more people involved, and they're hunting down various people. So there's an intensive search now for other members of the gang that were involved. It was a multinational gang, involved French citizens as well as at least one Syrian. So there's definitely a Syrian connection.
And ISIS has definitely claimed responsibility.
Oh yes, they've claimed responsibility.
How does this change the global ISIS threat?
I'm not sure it changes the global ISIS threat. I think it's changed the perceptions of the global ISIS threat. And hopefully it will be a wake-up call for the world, and here I'm talking about in particular the Americans and the Russians, that it's a strategic priority that there is a political settlement in Syria. The civil war in Syria, we've had a situation where Mr. Assad, thanks to Russian and Iranian backing, has survived, and ISIS has prospered. And most Syrians do not want a future with either Mr. Assad or ISIS, and they have fled the country. But more than 3 million Syrians have left their country. So as a matter, there has to be a military response to ISIS, yes, but there's no military solution. It's a political struggle. We have to cut down, to use a boxing analogy, we not only have to hit ISIS, the target, but we also have to cut down their ring space. We have to, if you like, reduce their attractiveness to desperate people. And that's a big job, but it can be done if the political will is there. So Mr. Putin, he has to work out how long he wants to support Mr. Assad for, because he continues to support Assad. It's generating security problems for Russia, because more than 3,000 Russians have actually joined ISIS, and that is partly as a result of Russia's own support for Assad.
Could this affect New Zealand?
It could. This is one of the other things is that we often think distance is a form of protection, but ISIS is a global organisation. It's operating in Europe at the moment. It gathers supporters through the internet. Its social media operation is very sophisticated, and I'm sure it will be looking to make recruits in New Zealand to continue the campaign against what it calls the non-believers. What
is our Prime Minister saying about this?
I think Mr. Key has, as we'd expect, expressed full solidarity with the French. This is a shocking time for France, an appalling terrorist episode. He's indicated that New Zealand will continue its role of training the Iraqi army against ISIS. He doesn't see any change in that arrangement. And, I think general solidarity with the French at this time.
Professor of International Relations Robert Patman, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.